A new regional, a new season, the same old results. Hello, everyone. My name's Eric Leon, the man rated EDL, and I'm here with the person who is always in fresh stock of some haterade, Evan Desai, and we are the Old Amber Archives. Evan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Sunday. Gotta watch a lot of regionals, Baltimore regionals this weekend. I got a lot of opinions on the stuff that went down, both at the regionals and around it. So we'll get into that.
Yes, and we are coming fresh off of the Baltimore regional here, and like I said, as it seems it's always been, Gardy is going to be here and does not want to ever want to leave its status as one of the top decks to play. Gardy beating Lugia in regards to the finals here. Congratulations to what is his name? Hold on, I'm pulling it up right now. It's congratulations to Henry Chow on his win at the regional tournament. He has beaten Syrian Farah, who was playing Lugia. Two decks that I did a recent video about, and I said that they were good decks to play in regards to those results. And so I'm not surprised seeing those two decks there. But what do you think of the finals? What do you think of the finals being with Zard, everybody goading Zard, with Reggie Drago, everybody talking about how unstoppable it is, with Raging Bull and Miraidon being that turn two, just completely decimating your board state. The slower, more methodical decks took place and got themselves into the finals.
Yeah, it was kind of surprising on my side and seeing Gardy win it. I know you were talking about coming in the last couple days, talking to some of our other friends, talking to boy Lego. I actually had an idea like Gardy was still a good deck. You had an inkling over the last few days about that. I know that. I was kind of seeing it win was surprising. I just assumed with how much Reggie Drago I expected to be played, you're just gonna end up getting some bad matchups where he's got the Trifoust stuff against you, and there's nothing you can do. But Henry played it great. He did what he needed to do. He got the win. Another one, probably is this Guardy's last ride or is going to survive going into the Stellar Crown format? We're going to have to see that. That's going to be interesting to see coming up. But we can just go a quick rundown of the top eight. Henry won with Gardy, Sirion, uh, second place with the Lugia, and then Emmett Hurley had the third place with the uh, Roaring Moon deck. Steven was on the Lugia as well. Some bitch was in fifth place on the Lugia. Nolan Randall on Orgapalm with the Noivarin. That was an interesting deck to see played. That was the most surprising deck out of top eight. And then Raven and Ian Rob, both on the Reggie Drago at the end. To round out at 7 and 8. It was an interesting top eight. Nice mix. Lugia obviously took the share of it, which I found kind of surprising. I I've never been a Lugia believer, but it still just does well. It is, it's a good deck. It's a good solid deck. Um, but
Yeah, definitely. Lugia, and it was, what I thought. Day two was what I thought, kind of what you were going to see in regards to the top three decks. I thought Reggie Drago was going to be there because everybody's going to be playing it. You're going to have some great players that were going to be playing Zard, and I thought the third deck was going to be Lugia. Obviously, I said predictions day one it was going to be Lugia, but I felt like it was going to make it into the day two as well, just simply because it's not an easy deck to knock out. Yeah, it has some consistency issues in regards to what it can do, but you know, when you run hot with a deck like that, it is a hard deck to just slow down, and it's a hard deck to take out. In its ability to just consistently have an attacker or have something that can prevent you from being able to take those prizes, and kind of making a disjointed, prize trade and stuff like that. Lugia is just one of those decks that it when you're running hot, it's a scary
Yep.
deck to go up against just because that prize trade it can make it uncomfortable in regards to how that prize trade looks.
Yeah, it can get you with the one prizes. It can one prize trade rating deck. It can take big knockouts. Real solid deck. And again, like we talked about, like it's got a awkward setup sometimes, but that's every deck. Like every deck's got an awkward setup unless you're just playing something big basic. Uh, it's a it was an interesting top eight. I got to watch all of it today in the between watching, taking in my football intake today. Uh, but yeah, Gardy's you can't kill it. Can't kill it. Every time you think it's dead, is it the new Mew? Is it Mew VMAX again, all over again? Like Mew, every time something came out to kill it, and Gardy, Mew came back, and now it looks like Gardy came back. We'll see. I mean, we only got like another 2 weeks in this format before Stellar Crown comes in, and I've been playing a few Stellar Crowns decks over the last couple days. There's some interesting stuff out there. There's some hitters. I don't. We're gonna have to wait for optimal list to come out, but there's some interesting stuff coming out for sure. But yeah, Baltimore. It was good to see a change compared to Worlds. This is the first tournament since Worlds in the same format, and Gardy was really not doing well at Worlds, but somehow they figured out. I don't know if Henry just had a great run. I think there's a way to. I want to go back and see all his matchups. I want to see how much Reggie Drago did he run into? Did he just avoid majority of it? Because that's part of it. That's part of the game is luck. Did he just avoid all his bad matchups? Have a good run that way? Uh,
From what I remember from what I was hearing in regards to that, he ran no Manaphy.
yep.
So he was rolling the dice with that one, in regards to the play out. But also secondly, he had bravery charms instead. So he decided to get rid of the bench space that would eat up with Manaphy
Yeah.
and went with bravery charms to offset the damage output. But then on top of that, the other thing that he was going with was that he was going with Monkey Dory. I think he ran like 3 Monkey Dories. So his thought process was more, if you do put damage on the field, if you do hit me, I'm just going to yeet all of that damage back on top of you before I make my attack. That was an interesting call in regards to that, and for me, like that's why I always felt with Gardy that Gardy is just a deck that just does not want to go away. Is it new Mew? Or is it another Mew type deck? I mean, it does the very similar thing. You see you see your deck in regards to that, and I think that's one of the things that makes it just outstanding in regards to that is that you just pull your deck out, and so you can kind of whatever you need to do on that turn, you can get that done, and that's what makes it, that's what makes Guardy Guardy, is that you just, discard and draw 2, discard, draw 2, discard, draw 2, Greninja, draw 2, and so you just pull your entire deck out, and so that you have options. You have the ability to just play out your strategy the way you wanna play out. So I definitely made some meta calls. Is it going to stay relevant? For me personally, I think as long as Curlia is in the rotation with the refinement, I don't see it going away in regards to that. Is it going to have some lulls? Yes, of course. Every deck has lulls. But is it something that, you just need that right player that's just going to be able to just figure out a new strategy with that deck? And then, boom, here it comes back onto the scene.
That's true. It's such a consistent deck. It has great setup ability, great comeback ability, great trading ability, like almost unlimited damage cap. Uh, just a solid deck. I really enjoy playing Gardy. I'll be building Henry's list once I get a sight of it, the full 60. Soon enough, once it's on limitless, I'll be building that, playing it locally. Probably, maybe I'll play it in Cup next week. Maybe I'll bust it out at Lucas Cup, Collector's Paradise on Saturday. We'll see how that goes. What I feel like doing. But yeah, it's we're gonna have to see. I don't know what's the next regional is internationally. Gonna be We're gonna see how much Guardia is gonna be or how much hate there's gonna be. on it to counter it. But yeah, this was a strong top eight. Looking back at it, obviously this was the first regional in this format. 2,000 players were in the region with the format where you got to get 21 points to get to day two, and I have some thoughts on that from stuff I've been seeing on Twitter the last day or two that we'll definitely get into.
Yeah, I remember watching day one and watching the last stream. The guy who I forgot his name, but basically he was losing. He immediately scooped it, and you heard him on the audio saying, "I don't want to go to a tie.
Yeah.
I want a winner in regards to this." And so, you know, this format definitely, or this new structure definitely changed a lot of thought process for a lot of people because beforehand when you would play one game, maybe two games, if it was kind of looking like it was a struggle, you know what? Hey, let's just take that ID. Let's just move on to the next game and go from there in regards to that. But what we're seeing a lot more is there's a lot of fear in regards to tying. And a lot of people are deciding, you know what? If I'm losing the game and you know what, instead of sticking it out to see if I can go into it, let's just go to game two. Let's just move on and I'll try to pick up two games after that. It definitely focused a lot more on deciding winners instead of, seeing a day two with somebody who has 5 wins and 4 ties on stream in regards to that. It was definitely a lot more focused on winning and taking those matchups that you could.
Yeah, and on that same topic of trying to get the win, where I saw a lot of people bitching about this yesterday, last night, and this morning, is people were being like, "Oh, people are making gentlemen's greatest round two." I'm like, "What did you expect? You got to get to 7 wins out of 9 rounds. Like, if you lose round one, you're just round two immediately. You'll be like, oh, if you lose a tie round one, immediately round two, you'll be like, oh, let's make a gentleman's agreement and let's go on. If you're making a gentleman's agreement, go on whoever has taken the most prizes. Don't go on like board state because board state is always subjective. Objectively, go on whoever taking the more prizes. I've seen people complaining about this today, this too as well. But like, what did you expect? Like, I as soon as they announced like, oh, it's a 7 win, 21 point must into day two. I'm like, yeah, there's gonna be people gonna be asking for gentlemen's agreements round two. I'm not be surprised if somebody asks for a gentleman's agreement round one. Or round one, you sit down and you're like, hey, if we go to a tie, let's just make a gentleman's agreement on who's ahead is a winner, right? This probably doing people probably doing that round one. Like everybody's surprised. I know some people are gonna play faster. It's how it is, but I don't know. It was really annoying to me seeing that because I'm like, why is anybody surprised by this? Like, I know I told you about this probably a couple months ago when they originally announced it. I was like, oh yeah, there's gonna be a lot more gentlemen's agreement. Oh, there's gonna be a lot more people scooping real quick on games. I think we had this conversation just by ourselves. Um, but I was shocked by how many people I saw that was actually surprised by that. Like surprised that gentlemen agreements were being agreed to in like round two, round three. Right? People trying to set up for that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, hearing that people were doing that, I'm not completely shocked by that because you want to, you know, it with a format like this, you need winners.
Yeah.
You need winners, and that means that you're gonna have to make those decisions in regards to, well, let's like I said, beforehand you had things like slow playing, in the last format, for this because hey, if I got to win, let me just play it out. If it goes too long and I end up losing, well, you know what? I'll take the tie and I'll move on from there. But nowadays, with what this is now, you end up having to focus on, hey, I need a win, or I need to know if I'm going home early, in regards to this. So let's go ahead and make that decision. Something like that. If that's what you have to do, I completely understand it. If you're gonna have to, or if you want to instead focus on just, hey, I'm gonna speed through my game. I'm gonna, make sure I knock out everything we can do on that, but that can lead to other decisions that can end up making a mistake. Somebody that I remember seeing, I think it was like round 4 or 5 on stream. A dude was playing quickly because he was trying to get the win, in regards to it with Raging Bolt. It was Raging Bolt versus Lugia, and he was going so fast, he attached a grass energy to his Raging Bolt instead of attaching the lightning energy that he had in his hand because he was going so quickly. And he tried to reverse it, and there was discussion on that, but they said, you know what, his hand left the mat, and as soon as your hand leaves the table, that is officially in play. And so he had to kind of pivot, and essentially the other player just basically bossed up what he needed to boss up to win, in regards to that. So, you know, either you're speeding super fast, which can lead to, making errors, or you're just going to say, "Hey, listen, let's just make a decision here." Evan, let's not go to a tie. That's not going to help either of us. Let's make a decision to win or lose. Now that in itself carries a lot of risk because you are hoping that your opponent is going to honor that decision. And that's something that, you know what? I've seen it happen at regional tournaments. I've heard horror stories about that where you make that agreement, you guys play your game out, and then they recant on that just because they're upset about how the game played out.
Yeah, like it happens. People are scummy. Like people want the agreement for themselves, but not for their opponents. It's that's why it's a subjective thing. Uh, a lot of these people making gentlemen's agreements on a gentleman. Uh, that's a real thing. Uh, I'll never make a gentleman's agreement. I just don't do it. I'll rather us both to get disqualified and thrown out the tournament than me give you the win if it's gonna be a tie. Um, yeah, I don't care. I'm, I'm not gonna risk any of the shit that's actually against the rules to just so one of us can have the benefit. If you really want this to win, stop taking 2 minutes per your turn. I play pretty quick. I don't really take I don't take extended turns. You played against me. Like I kind of play as I play my turns out pretty quickly, other than when it's like late game situations. Because I'm thinking through my turn while my opponent is playing. So I'm like, okay, well I gotta do this, do this, do this. All right, cool. Uh, I ain't out here trying to slow play. Uh, and then yeah, that gentleman stuff just leads to other issues because like obviously the judges are briefed about that, so they're you're not really supposed to do that. So the judges are looking out for people like, oh, flipping coins for a win or any other thing for a win, which you can't do. You can't. You have to go with what the game decide, what the game shows at the end of the game. If somebody wants to give another guy a win, they can give it a win, but if it be choreographed to, I mean that's an issue that showed up. I was scrolling through X last night, and I saw two players got disqualified because of the judge. Okay, there was no gentleman's agreement. They whatever somebody where they were signing slips and one guy was messing with a coin in his fingers, and a judge walked up and said, "You guys are flipping for the win," and then they both got disqualified. But tournament, I don't know how true that is. Obviously, Twitter is lying. The lying website, but right now I believe that's something that's totally possible. Depending on the judge, depending on what they see, if they believe it to be true, that's what they believe to be true, and that's what is going to be done. Because obviously they're on heightened alert for any of these people doing this kind of stuff. But also, like, obviously they should have expected this to happen. If it's if it goes through like that, like I just this new system, I don't like it. Obviously they're trying to get it more. Uh, I don't know if they want less people on day two. Obviously, this makes it for less people on day two. They want a quicker day two. Obviously, it makes for a quicker day two. There's only 4 rounds plus the asymmetrical top cut round, and then into top cut today, right? So obviously, it's a quicker day two than it usually is, which makes it annoying that they didn't stream the first 2 rounds today, which is I don't understand why that is. I mean, you got less, like just stream the whole thing.
I think for a lot of it, right now the biggest thing is, and that's something that just comes with production. You
Yeah,
have to kind of figure out your ebbs and flows in regards to that. And I understand. I don't know their thought process internally, but I definitely understand that you know there were 3,000 players at this regional tournament, and somebody who can do the math can probably piece it together in regards to that a little bit quicker than I can. But that means that if you have 3,000 players that are going to do that going into day two, you're going to have an exorbitant amount of people that still make it to day two. And that's just something that's just going to eventually, that system will eventually just collapse on itself, just because, either you're going to have to do a day three, which is going to be completely, infeasible in regards to that, or you're going to have to find something else. And so, having to make a decision like this, is it uncomfortable? Yes. Does it piss a lot of people off? Absolutely. Everybody's going to be upset about something and
Yep.
how, the system is structured in regards to that. But like you said, this regional, it got done. Day two got done a lot quicker than, what I remember from other regional tournaments in regards to what their that day two is. And so that makes it, for a production standpoint, for a viewer, a lot more digestible in regards to, here's day two, here's the handful of matches, and let's go from there. So um yeah, I get it. I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to figure that out, and I'm not making that decision. I'm not making that call, so I don't have to worry about it. But it's, the people that have to do that. It's not an easy call to make. It's not something that, is going to make everybody happy in regards to that. But I think it's something that needed to be done in regards to how the tournament
Yep.
structure was going and how Pokemon is growing as a tournament.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it is a thing. But it's like it is the right call. You need to get less people into day two. Like day two has to be more exclusive, just because there's so many people that can get to 19 points math wise. And just getting to 21 points is so much harder. There's a lot of people that are regular day two competitors that did not make it this time, and a lot of them were really pissed about it, and they're like, "Oh, we need to change the format. This format's terrible." Uh, Obviously, a lot like that's another thing I saw. I saw a lot of people just being like, one tournament in, they're like, "Oh, this format is terrible. This is terrible. Pokemon needs to go back to what it was before when people were complaining, bitching about the previous format." Like nobody's ever gonna be happy. There's never gonna be a time where everybody's happy. Like I would be happy if there's hard cut to 32. 2,000 players is hard cut to 32 for day two. Just because the chaos would be funnier. It'd be hilarious because there'd be like 40 people on the same match points from like I'm 32 down, and then like just they don't make it because of resistance. That's what I really want. I want more people disappointed. Basically, got to go 9-0 to make day two. That's how I want it. That's kind of how I want it done. Uh, but yeah, obviously, like nobody's ever gonna be happy. There's never gonna be a perfect system. People weren't happy about how regional was run because there was some people complaining about stuff getting late, entry, not enough judges. That's a problem at every regional. There's not enough judges for every regional, and as being I am a judge myself, I have access to some of these things the judges see, and obviously there's been a division recently. I know I've been complaining about it in the our group chat, and there's been division recently between I feel like the older judges, the more seasoned judges, versus the newer judges that have come in since COVID, since it's more current boom of Pokemon after COVID. Uh, and a lot of the older judges just kind of don't want to deal with a lot of the new things. They're like, I'm tired of this. All these things are being done. Like these players are being more disrespectful. There's more things going on. It's more annoying to deal with. How they're being compensated is not as good comparatively than it was before, or just different than what it was before. And I feel like there's a age uh, gap that has been coming well between the judges, between the older and the younger ones. That's causing some issues, and I'm just like, we're gonna see some regionals gonna be very understaffed. I feel like there's like I mean, this was happening last season. There was last season where, like, near the end, like, they were still, like, really requesting judges, like, a week out from the regionals to try to get, like, oh, we need more staff just because there's so many players. We just don't have enough staff. And compensation always becomes an issue with that. Just not getting tired of dealing with a bunch of, terrible people. And there's a lot of terrible people that play Pokemon. I mean, just look at X. A lot of people that complain about stupid things. A lot of people that really get on the judges. I'm like, yo, man, like, you need to stop like really getting on these judges because at some point there's not gonna be enough judges to run a tournament. It's just like people will just quit. Like I just don't want to deal with this anymore. Like they don't know judges making a living from judging, right? They got real jobs, they got real problems, and at some point, there's be like, yo, that league you've been going to for the last 3 years. Maybe that judge is like, I just don't want to deal with you people anymore. All right, it's too much. Like I'm canceling it. Then you lose the league, you lose a cup, you lose a challenge, uh, lose all that stuff because you deal with judges, and it's a thing, man. It's a real problem, and I think people don't realize like, yo, a lot of the reasons why stuff's starting later or stuff's not being run as well as you think is being run, or people pissing on the floor as a table 302. Um, that's a separate thing. That's not judges. It's like, yo, this is not enough judges. This is not enough. Like, think about how many leagues you go to and how many of the same judge you see. Like, if you see a judge like doing multiple leagues, right? And you're like, yo, what's the scene? Like, oh, I go to cups in this area and this judge is always there judging the cup because he's the one that's gonna do it. Take the time out to do it. Like, yo, man, like, there's not enough. Like, it's hard. Like, imagine because we think about this on TCG side. There's like 2,300 Masters players at Baltimore, right? Add in the juniors, add in the seniors, add in the VGC players, right? You need the judges for VGC. You need the judges at the prize wall. You need the judges just for these random things here and there, and then you have to be rotating judges, right? You have to send these judges on lunch break, send these judges they need the 10-minute break, they need the whatever. There needs to be a lot of like moving parts to run a regional, and obviously there's certain things that can be run better. There's certain things that can happen, but I think there's also an issue where a lot of these young, stupid Pokemon players don't realize running an event is very difficult. Like part of it could be like, hey, maybe the venue just didn't have their shit together, and then they didn't get to the judges the stuff they needed in time, and so it pushes everything back. Like if the venue is 2 hours late, that means everything basically is gonna be pushed back 2 hours late because they didn't do something, or something's not working, or there's an issue here, there's whatever here, there's a plumbing issue here, or there's an issue with the tables, they don't have the tables you need, they don't have the chairs you need, they don't have whatever. Everything gets pushed back, and it's not just on the organized parts. Obviously, there's certain things the organized could do better. Like there's complaints about the prize wall not being great, and that's a totally on an organizer in Pokemon TCPI issue. Is that the prize wall isn't great, or if the side events formats aren't great, or if the timing between rounds or whatever, or certain setups aren't great, right? That's an issue on them, right? But like if you're undermanned, even if you're like you expect to have 40 people, but you only have 37, yo, that's a big issue. Like not having 3 people when you expected to have those 3 people can really become a solid problem in trying to run any kind of event. Obviously, you're a guy that goes to a lot of cons and a lot of moving parts for the cons, and I'm sure there's a bunch of issues coming out from different things just because there's so many moving parts that go into it, right? There's always issues. Have like very few times is everything gonna run 100% smooth, and it could be an issue that happens for you that is really like 10 levels back that caused it, right? So because one person messed up 10 levels back, and now all of a sudden it's an issue for you, but like not everybody has control over everything. But I think people need to like lay off some of this stuff. Obviously, we want stuff run better, and the thing is, people are like, oh, but I'm paying $70 for a regional. I need to like get this thing. Well, look, bro, I used to pay $40 for regional, but the regionals were in real more shitty areas, right? More shitty halls and stuff, smaller halls and less people. Like when you start renting bigger convention centers, bigger halls, like the price of everything it doesn't go up by this hall is twice as big as the last one. The costs aren't twice as much. The costs are a lot more. Insurance for all that stuff goes up. Everything goes up. All the prices of everything goes higher than just being double the cost. And as being a guy that looks into this stuff and finance wise, uh, it's a real issue, and I hate seeing people complain about the. I mean, I love having a moan. I love having a complain. You know me, Eric. You're my friend. I love complaining. I love complaining, but I also complain with facts, like actual facts to back up my complaints. I know the things I'm complaining about. Like I'm very well versed in the things I complain about because I actually look into them and know like, all right, these are the things. Now I'm gonna complain about these very specific things inside these very specific issues. Whereas I think a lot of time you get on X and all these Pokemon players complain about very broad things. Where I'm like, man, do like a 20-minute Google search. Go deep dive on how to run an event and look at all the moving parts that go into it before you complain. I mean, it's fine. We want better. We expect better, and they should do better. And TCPI needs to figure it out. But they need to like fix some stuff, get some compensation better, get some things better, get some protections for the judges against some of the players better, maybe be more transparent about certain things, and this stuff could work out. But I'll get off my soapbox for right now on just the organization thing. There's some other things I was probably annoyed by this weekend from there was a cheater, a very obvious cheater playing who was pretty high up. Forgot who it was. I know that was some stuff, and people getting real pissed at that. Like people that have been obviously caught for cheating are still being allowed to play consistently when it's very obvious they cheating on stream. I think it was the Botarga. It was one of the SPEs that one of the DDG players won. I think it's Hendrick won. His opponent was a Mexican player who was caught cheating on stream, and we have video evidence. And then that guy is still allowed to play. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think that's a real thing that TCPI needs to look into. Like that's you got a smoking gun right there, and you're still letting that dude play. That's pretty wild. That's pretty wild.
No, I think the biggest issue in regards to in an event in general and how it's run is just, like you said, the first things first is that this is a volunteer basis.
Yeah.
So you're bringing in people who are not necessarily trained in regards to this. And so it's like, if you're asking for a better, if you are saying, hey, I want these regionals to be better, then you need to have a staff that knows how to run tournaments, and you need to have you need to have a hierarchy of just a group of people that know how to do that. The problem with that is that you're not going to get those types of people and paying them minimum wage. These people need to be making goods amount of money in order to have that structure to be able to consistently crank out banger tournaments after banger tournaments in regards to that. And so and that's, like I said, that's something that, Pokemon is gonna have to, if that's something that Pokemon wants to do, then Pokemon's gotta put the money towards that. That's a different conversation
Yeah.
in regards to that. What the reality is that, that is a heavy, that's a heavy cost for a tournament or for any company to function in regards to that. So instead, you go to a volunteer basis. And when you have a volunteer basis, it's a Russian roulette in regards to that. I kind of going off on a on a different thing outside of Pokemon. I used to go to school for film, and I used to there was a wall of volunteer listing things of people that, if you wanted to work on a film production, you can just reach out, contact them, and get set up. I've been on some of those production sets, and it's a coin toss on whether or not you get competent people or not. And so, um, in the first aspect of a regional tournament and getting things situated, you have to understand that this is just something that's just this is the reality of how it works. Do we expect them to be better? Yes. Do we want to have that organizational structure? Yes. But it's only at the top at this point, and so it's like they can bark out the orders, they can give everything down, but when the rest of it is volunteer basis, you don't know if you're going to be having people that are going to be comprehending, understanding, or even care of what you're trying to, put together and put forth at a tournament. And so that's one of the biggest things that I think in regards to that. And that leads into, like you said, everything else. When you have poorly run events, when you have people who are, cheating or should not be playing in the Pokemon, event, playing in the Pokemon event. It's simply just because, to be able to manage all of that, it's going to cost so much to actually put forth and to have people, working in that structure. And one of the things that like you were talking about to me, in regards to that, is that one of the biggest issues is taxes. And taxes. It's like if you're going to bring in people to work at different events, and you're going to have them go somewhere else and go to a different state and work there and be paid there, you have to pay taxes on top of that. That's a lot of money, for people so you're gonna have to compensate them to be able to shell out with that tax structure. That's a lot of money that you're giving to these people in regards to that, in order for them to function, in order for them to survive, and to do that. That ain't gonna happen. It's just a simple thing. It ain't gonna happen. There's too much to worry about with that. So you have to just accept that this is what it is. Do we want them to be better? Yes, of course we want them to be better. But that's also something that we as a community have to work on in order to get better. We have to regulate, and prevent certain things from happening, like cheating, or people, being complicated at the registry, and like you said, little things like that slow down tournaments. Little things like somebody who is trying to hustle or get extra tickets, or do this and do that. That stuff slows everything down. And so it's not just it's not just a facility aspect. It's also a community aspect that needs to get fixed too. We have to hold ourselves to the high standard before we can expect the actual tournament to be held at that same standard.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because we obviously we know we've been around locally, regionally, around different areas, and like there's some not great people that play this game. Like there's some people that are real a holes, like people I don't want to hang out with, I don't want to associate with. These are like I see how they treat like the judges, how they act, how they try every angle to get what they want. And just we're seeing that like 50-person cups, or 10 people 10-person challenges. When you go to like a 3,000-person regional, internets, whatever, you're seeing like obviously like a lot of those people are the people that are really try hard, so they're obviously going to go to these events. And that's just like more not great people, like. And then like I don't want to say it's like a whole thing. I'm like let's say it's like 10% of the community is really terrible, but another 15% is kind of terrible, and then you go down there like that. That thing. I'm not saying I'm great either. I'm a real asshole, real piece of shit. Slick back hair, white pants, live for New Year's Eve, piece of shit. But uh, yeah, it's a total thing, and I know somebody's gonna say this to anybody else who has access to some of the judge stuff. Might actually talk about this. Obviously, this year, at least for the U.S. area, the judges are being put on W-2s as actual employees, but it's still a volunteer thing, because like if you're a floor judge for Louisville, let's say you're a floor judge for Louisville, I think I was looking at it, you're gonna get paid $15 to $16, and that's you flying out there to get paid money, basically to pay back for your ticket. Back in the day, if you judged an event, you basically get the booster boxes, and some of the better organizers will slip you an envelope of cash with those booster boxes, which was basically the same amount as you get paid as a floor judge. Because think about, since it's be
Allegedly. Allegedly.
allegedly. I this is pretty good knowledge. Let's just say you're getting close to California minimum wage, working in Louisville. Uh, from I'm not 100% sure. Like I'll get some knowledge later on near the end of the year in January. We'll probably circle back on this in January, when I can look at what some the W-2s, the the TCPI actually sends out to the judges. I'll be able to take a look. I got some. I'll just say Evan's gonna. I'm be doing some deep dive investigating on some of this stuff over the next couple months. I just want to see financially how this. I'm gonna do, let's just say I'm gonna start doing a real big deep dive and do some of the TCPI financials this season, and I want to like look into certain things and see where that money that we're paying is going, and how much support is actually coming on the back end from big Pokemon, because TCPI and Pokemon Company are two separate things, and subsidiary wise, the people that run the tournament is a separate thing. Like it's a breaking down. I work in a multi-company setting in my personal line of work, and there's a big company on top and there's different entities underneath, and those are all separate. Like they kind of go up a chain, going back, but like not everything gets fed the same amount from the big boys on top. Like it's just kind of how it is. Um, but that's something like I'll definitely will be getting into that every once in a while in episodes going forward as I get more information from some of this stuff. Uh, but yeah, like it's still like obviously like oh people are gonna like this is gonna happen. People are gonna hear like people are getting W-2'd and they're actually being paid, and they'll be like, well, they're employees now. They should know what to do. Bro, a minimum wage employee doesn't know what to do. You go to McDonald's and a minimum wage employee is messing up your order. You expect them to understand how to deal with judge rulings and judge callings and run a event that has 3,000 people getting paid if you're getting paid minimum wage. Like let's not get here. And you're like volunteering to maybe get paid half as much as you actually get paid to deal with a bunch of people that are being unreasonable or just being really annoying for a weekend because somebody could ruin your day. And I'm not saying that all the judges are great. Obviously, I read some stories from some other players talking about how some of the judges were really like harshly talking to some players this weekend as well. And I'm gonna try to get some corroborating information on some of that. But there needs to be improvements from everywhere. Like there needs to be improvements from the players, the judges, and TCPI. Like it's a three-part system. That there needs to be improvements on every side of it. But definitely there is issues that need to be fixed, and it wasn't a great run event from most people's outlook on it. They probably ran it as best they could. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna see if I can figure out how understaffed they were because obviously they were understaffed. I'm gonna see if I can get an actual like comment on how understaffed they were from some of the higher up organizers for the event. But we'll see what we can do with that and see where we can go going forward. Hopefully, any of these issues can be learned. Uh, I mean, who wants to go to Baltimore? Really? Like, who actually wants to go to Baltimore? Like, let's. Like, this is kind of from a personal side because I remember a bunch of people complaining about having to come to Fresno for a regional. But I'm like, is Baltimore really that much better? Is it because you can see ocean? Does it make it that place that much better? Uh, but yeah, it's always gonna be an issue. There's never gonna be a great run regional. The regional is too big to be run great. Like the regionals when I started playing and there were like 300, 400, 500, 600 players depending. Those ran pretty well, but again, there's only like 400, 500 players, like for TCG Masters, and then you can expatiate onto VGC was probably half of that, and then just that's how it was back in the day. That was like 2014, 2015, 2016, that kind of era around, and yeah, it's just it's gonna be a constant issue. I think we'll bring up again after other regionals how stuff isn't run well and stuff is run differently now. Like it wasn't like the same organizers are running the same stuff anymore. Like a lot of the organizers are running stuff before the season are not running it anymore. Like Pokemon is contracted out to different people. So like people are upset day two events aren't running stuff. People are upset that I forgot what the other organizers are, but people like this event was run by Day Two, who's been running a lot of the East Coast regionals before. I mean, we went to Orlando, and Orlando was run by Day Two, and it's a pretty well run regional, all said and done. But they're not running it this year. Not running any of them this year. The West Coast team isn't running. Team Northwest, they're not running any of the West Coast regionals. It looks like so. These are new people trying to figure it out, and we'll see how it goes. And that might have caused some of the older judges that have been around with those organizers for a long time to decide like, yeah, I don't wanna work for these new guys. And if you got a judge that's been to like 10 plus regionals, used to knowing what to do, has been doing it for a long time, not coming anymore, that's gonna hurt the organization of that regional. That's gonna hurt a lot of things down the chain on that.
Definitely, and like you said, we'll definitely keep track of how these regionals are being run and how things are monitored. Going forward in the future events. I think the next one coming up is Louisville. So it's going to be interesting to see what is,
Yeah.
changed in regards to, the production side and the management of it from there. But um moving on and kind of going off the kind of coming back from the business side of this, and
Eh,
let's go back into the fun stuff of the Pokemon community. Um, so finishing up in regards to the tournaments here, one of the things I thought was really interesting that was coming up with this tournament here. And this is just something I just had off the top of my head. Like you said, one of the top eight people, Ian Robb, who is very well known now in regards to his performance and his actions in regards to worlds. Um, he was streamed online, or he was streamed on there, and he was interviewed afterwards after winning in regards to this. And one of the things that I was wondering is, would they bring it up? Would they give him a platform to kind of answer and just, not, just kind of reflect in regards to that? Um, and it looks like they didn't. They played it very safe in regards to this. They gave him softball questions. They gave him fluff, questions to kind of promote in regard to that. And I understand. You don't necessarily want to dredge up a controversial topic or something on that. But for somebody for like me, I think that would have been an interesting aspect to give him a platform to you know discuss exactly what happened, reflect, possibly give him an opportunity to say, you know what, I'm sorry, I screwed up in regards to this, or just kind of see if they would do anything, in regards to jesting about that. I felt like it was a missed opportunity in regards to the production. Giving Rob, especially if he, putting him on the platform on that, is something that you see a lot of other places, a lot of other areas, discussing in regards to when something happens like in sports, something goes down or a controversial moment happens, the next game or the next tournament, they give them something to talk about, give them that chance to kind of say, did they screw up, or was it something that they, do they do better next time, what do they learn in regards to doing that. What were your thoughts in regards to in regards to having them stream Ian or interview Ian Robb and just kind of give him the softest of questions?
well, my first thought was, man, when they come back to the interview, they should have all been doing this. Um, I think that was the first thing I told you when you asked me about it originally. Um, but I'm a menace. That's what I would have done. Obviously they're not gonna do it because it is still a kids card game, obviously, and people hate when we say that. People hate when people say Pokemon is a kids card game, but it is. It is. It's for ages like, I think it says on the package, like ages like 6 or 7 and up. Like when you buy the cards, it's a kids card game. I know what you want to do, so they're not really gonna ask about it. Uh, that's also why he got DQ'd, or got the game lost. Whatever happened, like it was a DQ uh, from top eight at Worlds. Uh, because it is a kids card game. I mean, obviously, like I watch melee tournaments and people do pop offs and weird shit and cuss and whatever in melee tournaments, but that's an adult orient. Even though it's a kids game, because melee is a game on Nintendo's formats, it's a kids game, but just in context, kids don't play at melee tournaments. It's all adults. There ain't no kids
Yeah,
playing, competitive fighting games. What the problem is, we have kid divisions at, we have juniors and seniors at these tournaments, and we have juniors and seniors that are subscribed to the Pokemon, the Pokemon official Pokemon YouTube channel, Twitch channels, and there's kids watching them. There's kids watching again. That's why he got disqualified. Like people are like, why did he get disqualified for doing that motion? It's because one parent is gonna come and start complaining about him doing it. That we talked about this from Worlds, like so. I wish they would have brought it up, but also right after thinking all that, I immediately went back and thought again, like, oh yeah, that's probably if there's at least one kid watching this, they're definitely not gonna bring it up.
and I get that, and that's why
Yeah,
for me it was like you give him that chance to say, hey, you know, my bad, and I guess I'm looking at it from a
yeah,
different angle. I'm looking at it from like I said, from other venues of competitive play in regards to that because honestly, I haven't heard anything in regards to Ian Robb, in regards to this. The only thing we've heard is from secondhand accounts about how it played out and everything. So that's
Yeah.
why for me, I was just like, he got himself onto the platform. Give him a chance to just say, what he learned from that, how he is going to grow out of his learn from that and experience this. So that's just my personal opinion. I would have went for it. I would have told him straight up, hey, before we go on, I want to, I want to talk about this. I want to give you that chance to kind of, reflect on and kind of show to other people, that you've grown from that behavior. Let's just get into it. Let's just cover it. Everybody's going to talk about it. Everybody knows you as that person now. So let's get ahead of it and see if we can, change the perspective of you. So like I said, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, that's my thought process in regards to that. I know everybody. I understand. They're not going to do that. Everybody that they don't want to cause waves. That's not the point of them. Being on there is to make any controversial statements.
Yeah, I mean, there could have been they could have soft walked it into just a more broad a way to be like talk about it. There's certainly a way around there. There's certainly a way they could have talked about it in a more broad aspect. Uh, that a real softball walk around aspect, but still got somewhat of a point across for it. But also on the other side, like I've been telling you this for I think since I've known you and we've been playing Pokemon. I wish judge calls, DQs, all this kind of stuff was more public. I wish there was like a place you can go like if you're a judge, you can see certain things like on the Pokemon side. You can see like banned players and certain things like you have access to that. But there should be like, yo, if a person gets DQ'd from a tournament, like we as the player base should be allowed to see why they got DQ'd. Like this should have been a summary of why Ian Robb got DQ'd. If there's some transparency between that stuff, I think a lot of this, fallout from Worlds would have been more obvious. Like if there would have been like just like a summary somewhere on the Pokemon website, you can go look up and just be like, hey, this is a summary of why somebody got DQ'd. Hey, this is at least for DQs. Like any other penalties, I don't care. We're not gonna get into like anybody else getting penalties or anything. But if somebody's getting DQ'd or a game loss, especially in big things like that, there should be like a real summary of what happened. For transparency wise, I think that would cause a lot of people to stop complaining about certain things. A lot of people just making up assumptions on things, and that would be a lot, better. I just want more transparency from TCPI, uh, and I feel like it would solve a lot of issues if there's more transparency. Because if you can see the reason why things are happening, people will be be willing to accept it because there'll be actually a reason why a certain thing happened. It is not all secondhand talk or whispers and stuff or people in DMs talking about things.
I definitely agree with that. And closing down the chapter of Baltimore regional and moving towards it from here. We are moving into a new format with this here. Stellar Crown is finally going to turn legal. Now, quick question for the cup that's coming up this Saturday for us. Is it going to be legal then, or is it still going to be in its current format? I
No,
wasn't too sure when.
I believe Stellar Crown becomes legal the weekend after that. So Stellar Crown becomes legal on the 27th. Lupe
Gotcha.
just snuck this cup in right before Stellar Crown becomes legal. Uh, because there's only one weekend of this quarter where Stellar Crown is legal, and it's that last weekend of the month. Uh,
Gotcha.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it just got snuck in right underneath the wire. So this is still gonna be basically just the same format as Pittsburgh, as Baltimore. Um, but yeah, like I said, I've been playing some few Stellar Crowns decks, built decks recently, and I've actually played a deck you were talking about, and I feel like you're gonna be very partial to is the Swain Zorak, and it got an awkward setup, but when it goes, it hits like a Mack truck. It just hits It hits. When it hits, it hits. It's great. It's got some downfalls. It's not good in like trading with one prizes. You don't really have a good one prize attacker other than uh, the the what's the three-headed bird called again?
Rodrigo.
Real, yeah. Sorry. Uh, that's your one like actual like one price trader you have in the deck. And so in Zark's not super big, so and you gotta put damage on it, so it's to get maximum value out of it. But it hits like a truck, and I expect it to be played once it goes through. I played some. And I basically only really got to play two games. I got to play like a handful of games with that. I got to play a handful of games with Terrapagos, a couple builds of that. One with Palkia, one when it's kind of by itself. Those were interesting. Zard with the Briar, it's really good. It's really good because you just take an extra prize. You play a card, and you get the card with Pidgey, and you take an extra prize on a knockout. So if they got two prizes left, hey, take a knockout. They got three prizes left, just take a knockout. Um, with Zard, that Briar really
And you
helps.
can actually and you can control that too with the Dust Dwarf because
Yeah,
you can basically give them that one
yeah,
extra prize
yeah,
and then go right into the Briar
yeah,
and take it from there.
yeah.
Which yeah, no, Zard is Zard, and one of the things that um one of our locals, Dre, he got on stream, and one of the things he was talking about is, what makes Zard so fascinating is that you can actually control the board state. You dictate the terms in regards to when prizes are taken, or when you power up, or when you play a certain supporter. And so that's something that, you know, Zard getting Briar into its format and then being able to dictate when you take 3 prizes, that's a scary thing.
Yeah, it's really good. Like I only got to play like 5 games on the Zard with the Briar build, but like I won two of those just going exactly that. Dusk Call knockout, Briar knockout. Dusk. I won the matchup basically on one turn because I was like, all right, let me go Dust knockout, that knockout, boom, prize down, knockout. Take this knockout on this baby by with 2 point with the Briar and take the last two prizes. It's a hell of a deck. It's a hell of a deck. It's hard, still good, still strong, still strong. It's be stronger in the next format. Um, Terra Pargos, fun. This is great. Great to just load up a bench and hit for a shit ton. Uh, Garvantula, not good. I don't like it. I don't know if I'm not playing the right build for it, but the Terra Garvantula, I don't feel like it's that good. I'll probably play some Reggies this week. Just still trying to figure out a good build for that. Just to see if Mikey is onto something or if he's just speaking to the air. And just on some of the players, like obviously our boy Dre was there. We had some other boys, Jose, Mikey, and Joe there. None of them made day two, but I just want to say, if you guys can hear this, you should all be disappointed in yourself. You let us all down. You guys really let us down, and you should be really disappointed in yourself. You should reflect on that. I'm just kidding. Good job. You guys did
I
what you
would
need to do.
I would like to say, shout out to them going to Baltimore and, giving it a college try. It is definitely, you know, it like we talked about before, regionals, they are a beast in of themselves. And it's something that now you have to play 9 rounds. Like, you can't just win 6 and tie yourself on through. You have to go and win 9. You have to play full 9 rounds. That is a grind. And shout out to them playing it through. Um I know Joe was letting me know he was like 3, 2, and 4, which means he still consistently was playing, trying to collect those points. Dre going 6 and 3, making top 256 in regards to him. So he was able to get some points there. It's a grind, and so good job to them for giving it that go. And hopefully, like I said, Louisville. uh, you know, creates a better result in regards to that for them, for whoever decides to go to Louisville next.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Louisville will be still a crown. These guys are gonna have to figure out new decks to play. Um,
Or just play Gardy. Maybe Gardy
I'll
will
just,
still be there, you
I,
know?
it might be, it might be. I saw a little bit of it on the ladder. It still seems pretty decent. Still got good matchups. I think having the Zard have Briar now is gonna change a lot of that stuff because now Zard
Right.
gets it on one prize. I mean, what to say is it could be a Guardy killer, it could not be. We don't know. We don't know until the future what
I
happens.
was gonna say, a lot of people thought Dustnar was gonna be a gutter killer because you can just go ahead and knock out something and then go and take another prize on top of that, and here we are with Gardy being able to win. So, um,
One thing we forgot to mention: the Raging Ball fall off from day one to day two.
yes,
That second most played deck in day one, and did not even. I don't think it even showed on the graphic on day two. It was part of the other decks on day two. Uh, that's pretty wild. I haven't seen that kind of fall off in a while. Uh,
yeah, that was an interesting one for me, and I like I said, I know it was on stream at one point, and them trying to go fast to be able to go to a game three, they misplayed and that cost them the win in regards to that round because they had it, they had literally all they had to do was attach the lightning and they attached the grass on accident, so um it was I would like to see the matchup spread that Raging Bolt played. Um, Obviously, that we see that looking at what made day two, it simply probably came down to bad matchups and on top of that as well, just it's a deck that yes it goes fast, but if you can keep the price trade with it and keep attacking in regards to getting the KOs and getting the return KOs, it doesn't have a lot of, like, flexibility. It's not able to hand disrupt because it needs SADAs in order to power itself up. It can't necessarily create those, maps. It is a very straightforward deck, and if it hits, it hits, and when it doesn't hit, well, it completely it completely stumbles and falls on its
no.
face, and Baltimore, it fell hard on its face.
Yeah, like it doesn't have a one prize that you can attack with. Maybe it gets that at a Stellar Crown. There's that small Roaring Moon. I don't know how good that is. I mean, small Raging Bolt.
Mhm.
Baby Raging Ball. I don't know how good that is. We're gonna have to see who comes up with whatever deck list for it. But yeah, it's great trading into like Zards and stuff. It's great trading into Reggie Dragos that they can hit you with the Noivern attack. It's great trading into big decks. Any big deck you want out there is great trading into it. But Gardy, it's not gonna trade into Gardy. Even Ancient Box has a rough time trading into an Ancient Box that starts popping. Um, But yeah, so the drop off obviously is like it's also probably like a lot of the better players, a lot of higher ranked players probably just want on the Raging Bolt. That's probably part of it too, right? That's probably consistent. Obviously, only 120 out of the 2,300 something decks that were played in day players playing day one. There's only 129 people playing in day two, right? So that's less than 10% turnover from the previous day. So yeah, like a lot, probably maybe a lot of the better players just weren't on the Raging Bolt. They didn't see the value in it because maybe they expected certain things. Uh, but yeah, we didn't see any Miraidon really here where we saw it at Worlds. I was kind of surprised by that. Uh, what was a great turnover for that? Yeah, every time we think we got a solved format, it's just changes, and that's the thing with Pokemon because you just expect stuff to happen, and then the counters come out, and it might be the same deck that was played 3 months ago. This gets back into favor because now the field is more favorable matchup for it. Uh, it's always interesting. Pokemon as it keeps going, it goes forever. Every time we think we know what's going on, shit changes. This is how it is.
Definitely, definitely, and going from there and discussing the next parts of this from here. Like I said, I know we have that cup coming up. Um, One of the things that I wanted to discuss from there and getting into it is that, with the new format, um what would you think that is some of the things that you would want to focus on in regards to getting to this? Because Stellar Crown is going to completely change everything with Terrapagos and with what we have. Well, we hope it changes, and we don't have the same thing repeating itself. But with the stadium that it can let you go 8 wide onto the bench, and with Terrapagos being one of the things that gives you a new deck to play with, but on top of that, can change things like bring certain decks back and everything. What would be what would you say from here would be something that you would want to focus on when you have a new meta that's going to kind of evolve in regards to this? What are some of the things that you would want to focus on in regards to picking a deck, deciding what to build, or looking at what's going to come up in the next tournaments to play?
So every time there's a new something gets released, every time we feel like there's been a change in the format, especially when rotation happens or anything else, I think the best thing to go back to basics for the first couple tournaments you play, and to get your deck as more consistent as possible. Don't tech it out. Don't really tech for matchups because you don't know how matchups are gonna go with any new things going out. Just like go back to basics. Go back to consistency. Like make it 60 as consistent as possible for the first couple tournaments you plan to play on it. Uh, and if you get a bad matchup, you just get a bad matchup now. And in the future, you know, like, okay, I need to tech around this matchup. Or you'll be like, well, maybe you can see the lines and be like, okay, I just need to play a different line against this matchup, right? Anytime and that's how I feel like you should be going into any build off what the current build for a deck is. If you're just starting to update a current deck into a new meta, is just strip it back down to consistency, right? Don't have your text, don't have your little changes for certain things. And in the same thing for any new deck like Terrapagos, like we're all gonna try to figure out what the best build for Terrapagos is, what the best build for whatever any other cards coming out is. Is like start by building something that's just very consistent, very hit heavily, very route one game plan. I'm gonna hit hard with Terrapagos. That's my plan. And then my plan is to hit hard on Terrapagos and get into the cards that let me gust into the things I want to hit. That's your early consistency idea. So just I think that's what any deck you just come out originally. Consistency, consistency, consistency. Best most consistency you can play, and then from there you start teching it out for certain matchups. And I saw this on I think our boy Dre got into this with somebody on Twitter on X the other day. Uh Teching for one matchup that maybe gives you a 10% better win rate versus not teching for it, where you might have a slightly favorable or even matchup for it. And I'm very much against teching for certain matchups. I think you just play your deck as you play, and you just try to see the lines for wins that you can see. Uh, Unless the matchup is just absolutely dog shit, I don't think you should tech for certain matchups. Like I don't think you play certain packages for certain matchups. Just because you in a 9 round tournament, you may actually just play it once, and then you tech for a matchup that you're only gonna play once. Like my basic idea for how I build decks. My decks are built for consistency and to play my game plan, my route one game plan, as I see it to be played. I'm not gonna be teching for things. I'm playing it as good. I'm just playing as consistent 60 as I can build.
All right then. Well, definitely, yeah, I do agree with you on getting consistency down because, it teching for things, it's a meta call. When you want to play with something like that, I feel like that's when you want to tech in regards to, you know, what we saw at Baltimore. You're gonna play, you're gonna hit Reggie Drago when
Yeah,
22% of the meta is gonna be Reggie
yeah.
Drago, in regards to that. But outside of that, focusing on that consistency and getting that going for you, I think is definitely a good strategy to focus on. So Um, well, going from here and looking at the time, we are probably going to be wrapping it up here at this point. Um, so if you guys want to follow us in regards to what we do, Evan is definitely somebody that is on Twitter all the time. And if you want to follow his antics and his beef starting that he loves to do, you can follow him at Evan Desai on there as well. For me personally, I have gotten back into building content for myself again. So you can go and check out my handle rated EDL on YouTube in regards to the shorts that I do. I'm right now working on a video concept called Trash Pulls, where I basically attempt to pull cards and I rate them based off of I rate the trash that I pull based off of Garbodor cards to see what level of good that they are. So that's what we got going on. If you guys want to follow us there, we would definitely love and support. Appreciate all the supports that you guys give this. But going from there, like I said, wrapping it up, my name is Eric Leon and Evan Desai. Thank you very much for your guys' time. Appreciate you guys watching us, and you guys have a good rest of your day.
Peace.